All right. Hey, everybody. This is Matt, and we're at Texas Toast. Thanks for watching. This is our weekly Sunday podcast. We do these every Sunday at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, and thanks for joining us. I am thinking I'm hearing my microphone a little differently, so I might be adjusting my mic as we go. Mrs. Texas Toast says that it sounds exactly like it normally does, and it's probably just the way that I hear things or don't hear things. So anyway, it's just me today. This week I'm flying solo, but I do have one of the Texas Toast challengers in the background. And we thought a really cool topic would be to just take a bunch of questions from you guys and thank everybody for joining us. And if you have any questions that are guitar specific, it looks like there's a handful of people who've asked questions already that are not guitar specific. And so thank you for those, and we'll get to all of your questions in the next hour. So thanks for hanging out with us. Mrs. Texas Toast, how many people we got with us so far?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you for that. That was very helpful. So there's been a lot of good stuff going on in the shop this week. We've got a bunch of guitars. For some reason, there are way more Flying V's in the shop now than there normally are. And you know, the guitar industry is funny the way that it cycles. So for a while there, we were doing a lot of stuff with Floyd's and Super Strat kind of guitars. We made a lot of double necks. I guess now is just the time that we make a lot of Flying V's. So we've got 1, 2, 3 Flying V's hanging up that are ready to go off to sealer. One is actually ready to go to paint. And there's 4 or 5 others that are in various stages. And so, yeah, Flying V's. Who knew? Flying V's are the cool thing that everybody wants now. 2 of them have been made with my secret stash of white limba. A lot of people think that it's called Carina, and they are right, I guess. But there's no species of wood called Carina unless you are in the Gibson marketing department. It's actually white limba or black limba. It's all from the same tree. It just depends on the color variations associated with each board. But anyway, Flying V's are cool. And I'd like to know what you guys think about Flying V's or other guitar trends too. And we can talk about that today as well. Also have, we've been wanting to do something called Salty Answers to Salty Statements, salty comments, I guess. And we might get to some of that too, because I've had some real doozies lately on the YouTube videos. So do we have any questions so far that we let's start? I know there was a couple from Gary Cherry, Scary Harry.
Oh, that got answered by the other users.
Oh, did it? Hey,
yes, it's obviously Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah, so Gary wanted to know where babies come from, and I always like to answer that question with when a mommy and a daddy love each other very much, then I don't know where they come from. That's really the way my personality is. It would get dark really fast in the podcast. We're only 2 minutes in, so I have Dr. Pepper today, not because I'm not drinking beer, but because I'm trying to not drink as much beer. Because usually what happens is I'm in no condition to operate a vehicle after these things. So yeah. So thanks again for everybody for joining us and hanging out. And I'm sure there's a bunch of questions. We can get to those whenever we want to.
Well, Professor Chaos has an actual question.
Professor Chaos!
Where do you guys shop for woods when building guitars? Austin, Paxton?
You know, I'm going to start by giving a shout out to my friend Dan at Guitar Wood Experts. But it sounds like Professor Chaos might be a local guy. So if you are in the Denver metro area, Austin Hardwoods is great, and Paxton Hardwoods is also great. We did a video, kind of not a live video, but that would be fun to do too. But we did a video where we were in Paxton Hardwoods, and we talked a little bit about what is a board foot, and we went up to the counter and we were going to film, and the guy got a little bit shitty with us, so we were unable to use some of that footage. But very recently I talked to I don't know, I think he's the manager, the owner, whatever, but Mr. Paxton or whatever his name is, I don't know his name. And he saw that video. This was like a year later, and he's like, "Hey man, I saw that video that you made." So yeah, Paxton, those guys are always cool. The guys at Austin are very cool. If you're not in the Denver metro area though, and you're having trouble finding and sourcing wood for your guitar projects, I would say you need to give Dan at Guitar Wood Experts a call. And we are working with Dan on an industry partner thing. So don't be surprised if in a little while we may have a discount code for Guitar Wood Experts. So keep watching for that, and keep using keep enjoying our industry partners. Right now we've got Bitterroot guitars, and we have a 15% discount code with Bitterroot guitars if you type in TXTOAST at purchase. And Hipshot is helping us out by making us Hipshot distributors. So any Hipshot products that you need, let us know, and we can help you out with those too. What else we got?
Okay, faculty links, which I think you were calling Gary Cherry.
That's, well, I don't really know what his name is because it's different every single time, but yeah, that's him.
Is this someone I know?
It's he's the guy who we did the Mosrite. He sent us a Mosrite neck, and we put a body on it. Yeah.
And I just wanted a little sidebar. I am not drinking Dr. Pepper, so
no one thinks you are drinking Dr. Pepper or operating a motor vehicle. I have beer for later.
Weenie roller. You drink Dr. Pepper.
A doctor made it. So what, you think you're better than a doctor?
Well, he's looking for a way to hide knobs and asking if there's a way to mix the bridge and neck tone and volume.
Absolutely. If you have limited real estate for controls, but you want controls to do multiple things, the hot setup is a stacked knob. So you can get volume and a tone in the same, I'm going to say the same footprint, but not the same depth print. Is that a thing? Depth print? Because it's like having two potentiometers stacked one right on top of each other. So look up stack knobs at see if Bitterroot has it, see if StewMac has it, something like that.
I have a question.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Who would you rather fuck, marry, kill?
Oh, wow.
Samantha Bee.
Okay.
Rosie O'Donnell.
Wow.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Gosh. I don't know. That's kind of a loaded question. Can't you throw? They're all kind of hardballs there. There's all
like kill.
Yeah. Well, no. What is it? Kill,
marry, fuck.
Yeah. I don't know. I did like those. I always thought that Whoopi Goldberg was good in Sister Act. I don't know what Samantha Bee has to offer anyone except for that. She does that comedy that's like, it's real political, and there's so much like anti-Donald Trump politics now that it's just like eating ice cream and you're gorging yourself on ice cream. And after a while, I'm just like, oh, can you guys, there's nothing else funny going on in the world besides something that Donald Trump did. And who's the other one? Rosie O'Donnell?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Who's Rosie Oh, yeah. I don't know if she has anything good that did she do anything that I thought was cool at any point in history? I don't know.
A League of Their Own, maybe.
I never saw that, and that had the tank girl in it, who I always
Lori
liked.
Petty.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a real question.
Okay.
I didn't expect you to actually take me seriously.
Well, I do every single day.
So Wayne Ranson from Queensland, Australia.
Hi, Wayne.
Wants to know who you think is cooler than Bo Diddley.
No one's cooler than Bo Diddley. There are maybe a handful of people who are as cool as Bo Diddley, but that's sort of like saying who's cooler than Billy Gibbons or Samuel L. Jackson. Like if you were going to be in a dueling match to see who was coolest and you had one of those three dudes, just give up. No one's cooler than those guys. They're, like I say, they're all probably as cool as each other, but I don't know. Who do you got, Wayne? Who's cooler than Bo Diddley? Maybe the Duchess. She was definitely cool.
Someone wants to know how Les Williams, how'd you come up with the name Texas Toast?
Short story on that is Lone Star Guitars was already taken. So when I started making guitars again, I wanted to have something that was, Texas is a place where I spent a lot of my growing up formative years. And so, for example, I went to high school when I lived in Texas.
He was class president for 2 years in a row.
They don't need to know that. Yeah. And so I wanted, Texas is a place that is, Texans are very into being from Texas and being Texans. And so I wanted to have something like that represent my guitar brand, because not to mention that there's a lot of really super cool, famous guitar players from the Texas area. You might know some of them, Joe King Carrasco, guys like that. So I wanted something that was easy to remember and that had something to do with Texas. And I definitely didn't want it to have my name, because what the fuck is a Flaherty guitar? You know what I mean? So, I wanted something that had something to do with Texas and was easy to remember, which usually means kind of corny. And so yeah, Texas Toast. It's easy to remember, and it has the word Texas in it. So that's why I chose that.
Bob Quigley wants to know what your favorite compound radius is.
My favorite compound radius is our infinity radius that goes from infinity at the nut and beyond.
And he followed it up with that comment
at the 22nd fret. So yeah. So Bob always gives me a bunch of shit about compound radius. And we'll do a compound radius. We won't like it, and we'll do it under duress. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with compound radius. I just don't think there's anything particularly necessary with a compound radius either. And Bob will fight me on that one, I'm sure. But when it's all said and done, we'll go out for beers. So yeah.
Jeffrey Telma wants to know if you've ever used deer antlers or nut materials, how they compare to bones. Does the Corian samples count?
No, that doesn't count, because that's a man-made thing. I would imagine that antler would work just fine. Bone isn't exactly particularly hard stuff, and it grinds pretty easy. I mean, antler is essentially a kind of but what is a calcium deposit thing? So I think antler would work fine. I am more interested in working with specific animal types. So I found that the best tone comes from black cats. That's the way that you get the absolute best possible tone from your nut material, is to make sure you get it from a magical animal. Yeah, no, yeah.
Like a flying reindeer.
Like a flying reindeer. Yeah. So absolutely. If you have access to the real problem with antlers is generally it's frowned upon to go into the woods and harvest antlers that have fallen off of things. And it might be so frowned upon, in fact, that it might be illegal in some places. But there's plenty of cow bone getting turned into from cow skeletons that are supporting the actual beast. When those things get turned into burgers, then there's lots of bones left over to do with whatever you want, including making nuts or saddles.
And Gabe Slewis says Bitterroot is great, and he's so glad that you told him about them.
Cool. So thanks for checking those guys out, Gabe. Did you know about them before? I think I might have some trouble understanding the question. So
no, it's not a question. He said thanks for letting him know.
Oh, he didn't know about it. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, they're super cool people. John and Cheryl are really nice, and I'm really glad to have them on board as industry partners. Let me tell you guys a little bit about the industry partner thing. I don't make a dime off the industry partner deal. It's just for you guys to kind of get to know some companies that you might not know about necessarily, and take advantage of some of the cool products that they have that we use. Or, like in the case of Bitterroot, we get a lot of stuff from them, but we don't get every single thing from them. So there's probably lots of good stuff there that I don't know about. So if you find something at Bitterroot that you absolutely love, let me know too, because I don't use everything. We have all of our truss rods come from there, but we get parts from all over the place. And so I guess what I'm driving at is look through the Bitterroot catalog and check those guys out, because they're cool people. And stay tuned for more industry partners, because I think this is gonna be a cool way for businesses to advertise in a way that doesn't really cost them anything. It kind of does if they give us a discount, but
But they're getting more business.
Yeah. So it's a cool thing to do. So, like I said, I still want to be entirely viewer funded. I have every intention of being entirely viewer funded for as long as I possibly can be. But I don't have a single problem at all, telling you guys about companies that I use. So yeah, so check those guys out.
Okay, so two kind of related questions that I'll ask together. Gosselin Creative wants to know if you worked as a luthier after Roberto Van, and Thad Shoemaker wants to know what made you want to become a luthier.
Okay. First of all, thank you guys both for watching. And Thad, I've been following your shop on Facebook, and I'm glad that you are giving that a go. So congratulations on Shoemaker Guitars. And by the way, if you haven't checked those guys out on Facebook, or if you live in the Quad Cities, check those dudes out. I don't know how many people who are who are listening to this are from the Quad Cities. Maybe just you, but yeah. So check out his shop. Anyway, so did I work as a luthier after Roberto Van? Yes, I did. I worked at a place in the Denver area called Rarebird Custom Guitars, and I worked with a mentor of mine, Bruce Clay. And I haven't talked to Bruce for a long time, but that's okay. I like Bruce a lot, and I learned a lot of stuff from Bruce. But I do things very different than Bruce did now. So I kind of struck out on my own and made some changes to some of the things that I learned from when I was at Roberto Van, which was a long time ago, and from when I was at Rarebird, which was also a long time ago. And then I stopped making guitars for quite a while, and I just started up again in 2011, 2010, something I can't remember. What made me want to start? Oh, you know what? Let me back up. I don't like to use the term luthier because it kind of sounds like you're trying to be pretentious, but I realize that that's a what you call someone who does what I do, but I just prefer guitar builder or guitar maker, which is neither here nor there. But back to the what made me want to do it. Really, I was just about I didn't want to go to college, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was in Amarillo, Texas, and I was looking at a guitar magazine at Hastings Books and Records in Wolfland Village. When you enter Wolfland Village, you're at the center of everything, although that store's long gone now. And there was a little tiny ad in the back of Guitar Player or Guitar World or something. Build your own guitar, and it was for Roberto Van, and I thought that's what I want to do. So I went out to Arizona, and I met with John Reuter and John Roberts and a lot of the people who were at Roberto Van, and I really wanted to do it. And I had actually gone to Rarebird Guitar Laboratory, and I said, man, this is so cool. This guy Bruce Clay is so awesome, and he really tried to talk me out of doing it, and he's like, don't do it, it's you won't like it. And 16-year-old Matt said, well, fuck you, man, I'm gonna do it anyway, and I'll show you. And Bruce Clay said, well, if you decide to do it, let me know, and I'll give you a job when you get back. And true to his word, he did. So that's why I started doing it. I think you also start out, you remember in the mid to late 80s, there probably wasn't room. What the world needed wasn't another guitar company, but there were a lot more guitar players, and the music industry was a little more guitar centric. So, and guys like Paul Reed Smith were basically putting the world on its ear, and everybody who I know who was doing what we did thought we were going to be the next Paul Reed Smith. Clearly that didn't work out, but
Not yet.
Yeah, I think, and that's okay. Yeah, if you want to make lots and lots of money building guitars, you should probably start with double the amount of money that you want to make. I don't know. I really do wish that guitar making was a more lucrative field, everybody. But if you don't love doing it, you're going to be disappointed. But if you love doing it, if you love making guitars and you love making music, then this is a cool way to do it. I'm not much of a musician. Everybody who has ever heard me play will attest to that. But I think that the guys, Chris and John and Ian and myself, Brandon, we make a lot of really cool stuff, and Yeah, so I'm happy that people are into what we do. So one day maybe even stuff like the Challenger will catch on, but until then we'll be happy to make, dream guitars for people. Maltese cross flying V's and stuff.
We have greetings from Russia. That's kind of cool.
That's cool. What time is it in Russia?
I don't know. I think he said good morning or I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, what's a nice thing to say? Is "Do Vidanya"? Is that a nice thing?
I believe that would be
I didn't insult
goodbye
him,
greeting.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, hello.
I don't know.
I don't know. I thought it was thank you. No.
I'm not sure. Right. I would have to.
There goes my chance to soothe over this whole Russian probe thing and settle squash it once and for all.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
Well, okay. So there's a couple of questions that are also related.
Okay.
From Damage 262.
Hey.
Wants to know if you can oil your fretboard with hash oil in Colorado, which I'm sure you could do anywhere.
I'm sure you
why would you want to? But on that same note, Joel Bachhuber said, if I refinish a maple fretboard with 2000, is it worth masking frets or just scrape them after?
Scrape them after. You can do it.
You can put hash oil on it and then
put hash oil. Generally speaking, the frets don't like to hold on to the paint as much as the wood does until they do or it doesn't. Does that make sense? So it's not unheard of to have the clear coat chip off the wood when you're trying to just get it off the frets. If Chris were here, he would tell us more about it because he knows way more about this than I do. But another great way to do this would be, if you don't want to spray finish, you can just oil. You can oil a maple fretboard. It'll get dirty, but you can put more oil on it and clean it off again. That's a great way to go.
Because you used to put the tone oil on, didn't you? We
used to use lots of boiled linseed oil or polymerizing linseed oil and wax on maple fretboards, and it works great. It gets dirty, but you can do it. And that's what Leo Fender had that problem too. Is he had those maple necks, and when they were on TV, they kind of looked grungy. So he went to the rosewood because if they're going to be dark anyway, then at least they won't show that they're all boogered up. But yeah, try a couple things and see what works best for you. We've done it both ways, where the guitar that we sent off to Brad Davis has a lacquered maple fretboard, and I masked the frets, and that worked fine. Give a little bit of don't have the tape go all the way down the fret. Wait a minute. Don't have the tape go not all the way down to the fretboard. Leave a little bit of fret showing so you get the paint right up onto the fret if you're going to mask it. If not, you can just scrape it off and it'll be fine.
I'm wondering too if you get like a little hash buzz through osmosis through your fingertips on the hash oil.
I don't know. I don't think if you rub your fretboard with LSD, maybe that'll happen.
If you try it, let me know because I'm really curious.
I'm like the worst hash anything. I don't know anything about hash or CBD oil fretboard. I'm not sure. What is in CBD anyway? Is that like there's no actual THC in CBD, is there? I don't know. Do you know?
I don't either. I just go to the pot shop and say I want to get stoned, and they say, "Oh, buy this."
I'm the worst pot smoker, and I don't do it. It's not my thing. So yeah.
I just lost my place. Oh, this is just a funny comment that Rick Denatali, I guess, says, Flaherty, huh? I thought your last name was Top Secret.
Matt, Top Secret is in fact my name. No, that's not mine.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be. Maybe because I'm so incognito. And okay, Eric Terry wants to know, how hard is a wizard neck from Ibanez to make?
It's no harder than any other neck. The thing that you got to watch for with the wizard neck is you still have a truss rod, and you want to use the shortest truss rod. If you can imagine, not the distance from the fretboard, the bottom of the fretboard to the top of the fretboard to the bottom of the truss rod is going to be calculated into the thickness of your neck. So you still have to have that truss rod. I have known guys like Mike Learn Mike, our buddy from Learn Guitars, Mike Learn, sometimes he does very thin, super slim necks. And sometimes what he'll do is because the fretboard is still going to be however thick it is, and it's going to get a radius. So it's going to be the full thickness at the crest of the fretboard. What he will do is run a slot for the truss rod down the fretboard too, so that your truss rod slot isn't only in the neck. It's like a 16th of it is in the fretboard. Does that make sense? Does that sound right to everybody? Okay, so there are ways to do it. The trickiest bit is make sure that you don't go through the back when you're shaping. But I don't know what the profile is on that, but it's wide and really, really thin. There's another thing about the wizard neck that I wanted to talk about too. I wanted to mention. I can't remember what it is. If I think of it, I will get back to you. But yeah, just make sure that you leave enough meat. Oh, I remember what it was. So remember your truss rod. If you use a double acting truss rod, while it's pushing up in the center to counteract the string tension of pulling, you're going to be pushing down in two other places. So, or no matter where so as you're pushing up or down in the middle, you're going to be pushing down or up on the end. So remember that. That's another area where you need to use caution when you are making a neck that's that slim. You want it to be stable and you want it to be that profile. You can do it, but yeah, use caution.
Okay, so Micah or Mika Hut wants to know if you can tell him about the super glue and masking tape trick.
No, I can't. I'd be happy to tell you about the super glue and masking tape trick. It's not really a trick anymore. The guy from Crimson Guitars had this video, and I don't know where he got it from. I think he actually says it in the video. And I thought, that's never going to work. And so I tried it one time, and I'm like, well, I'll be a son of a bitch if it doesn't work. So I made a video about it. This was years ago. And every time I use double stick tape, I get these things from people. Hey, use the super glue and masking tape trick. Here's the guy from Crimson Guitars showed everyone how to do it, and he's the miracle worker and blah, blah, blah. And that guy's super smart. There's no doubt about it. So I always send him a link to the video I made 2 or 3 years ago of me saying, thanks to the guy from Crimson Guitars for showing me how to do this, because it works. And I think my video is even called Double Stick Tape Sucks. At the time, we weren't using the 3M double stick tape, and the double stick tape that we had did in fact suck, and it left residue on everything. But since we switched to the 3M double stick tape no longer sucks. I'm also going to tell you this. It is not impossible to get a bunch of super glue seep off of one piece of tape onto either the template side or the material side and have a way bigger mess than double stick tape makes. So it's not that the tape and masking tape and glue thing doesn't work. It's just that it's not the be all end all solution for holding two pieces of material together, but it does work. And I know about it. So thank you for everybody who says, oh yeah, someone told me once it's basically free. And I'm like thinking, man, have you priced masking tape lately? Because, and I don't know what sort of quantities you're buying super glue in, but that's another thing. I don't think it's any less money. And I think it's actually more tricky to work with. It takes more time. It's not as tricky to work with as much as it takes more time to get right. It does work, but, and I still use it sometimes. Like if I run out of the tape that we use, but yeah, so it works. And if you guys dig it, then go crazy.
Dragon Model wants to know if you can, please, is there a way to replace a truss rod without splitting the neck?
Depends on what kind of truss rod it is. Man, that's tricky. What is it? Dragon Model. Let me know what kind of neck you have, and I'll tell you how easy or not easy it's going to be. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. And why do you have to replace it? Are you sure you need to replace your truss rod? Are you sure your truss rod's bad? Because what happens a lot of times is You get the brass nut, especially on like a Gibson or a Fender. If it has a brass nut to adjust it, those things aren't as heavy duty as the steel rod. That's the steel 3/16 rod that's threaded. Boy, if you have a Fender, yeah, okay. If you have a Gibson neck, I would say replace the acorn nut and see if that works first. That will cost you a couple bucks. If you have a Fender, replacing the neck would be way less money than replacing the truss rod. I hope that helps. What else we got?
Gosselin Creative wants to know why you hate Inlay so much.
Mostly because of my eyesight sucks. And I used to really like doing inlay. I used to really dig it. I had a lot of fun cutting inlay, and now not so much. And one of the reasons that I don't like inlay is because I really like the clean lines of a plain fretboard. So when I started Texas Toast Guitars, there was no inlay, and actually back in the early days of Texas Toast, the very first guitars we made, the first 25 or so guitars we made, not only had no inlay, they had no controls. So they were all one pickup guitars. They were wired directly to the jack. They all had oil finishes. They didn't have any inlay. It was basically if it doesn't make the guitar sound better or play better, it wasn't on the guitar. Now, some people will say that, neck pickups or bridge pickups or combinations of pickups make the guitar sound better. And I get all that. But that was at a time when people on internet forums, which I don't go to anymore. I don't look at internet forums anymore. But back in the...
Didn't you get kicked off all of them?
I did. Yeah, that's right. There used to be a lot of people who would say stuff like, you got to have cloth covered wire and the finish has to be so thin to do this, that, and the other. And I thought, well, if all that stuff is so important, why, if the super thin finish is really important, let's use the thinnest finish we can, or no finish. If the kind of wire that you use is that important, forget it. Let's not use any wire. Let's wire the pickup right to the jack. If these pots aren't any good, no pots. These capacitors, you have to have this kind over the other kind. No capacitors. Wire it right to the jack and get the raw sound of the instrument. Those went over like a BLT at a bar mitzvah. They were not well received instruments. I loved them, but it was that sort of whole hot rod thing of if it doesn't make the motorcycle go faster or stop faster, it doesn't go on there. And my thing was on the guitar, it was the same deal. If it doesn't make it play better or sound better, don't put it on there. Since then, we've started using all sorts of controls and all sorts of hard finish, and our guitars are way more popular now than when I was left to my own devices.
Well, that goes along lines with the next question from Scott Estes. Wants to know if you've tried to do copper binding yet.
Is that the guy who asked me about copper binding all the time? No, I haven't. I'm sure you could do it, but I don't know anything about copper. Is not fun to work. I remember the Guitar Wood Experts guitar had one of these bridges, and it was made with copper, and we had to grind off the bottom of it, and it was a pain in the ass to work. So boy, no, I haven't done anything with copper binding. I don't see myself doing anything with copper binding. But I would love to see somebody else's copper binding. And if you've got any tips or tricks, let me know. Maybe you'd pour molten copper into a channel. Yeah, it probably wouldn't work.
Well, somebody, I can't find it now.
I'm drinking beer now. And some people are going to go, that's not real beer. That's Coors Light. Well, I'm an old fart. So
yeah, that's true.
That's true.
And you need to hydrate. So drink your water.
Yeah, I do.
So I'm sorry. I lost the post.
Sorry.
Because I'm rolling around here. Wants to know if you have any shirts for sale because the online store is being shut down. So WTF,
Okay. There's a couple things about that. First and foremost, yes, Dan at Fresh Agenda has just made, my shirt order has been ready for a while. I just need to go down there and pick the shirts up. There's a handful of things that are going on with my day job right now that I've been unable to get away to go pick up the short order. shirt order, but the shirts are ready. Now, as far as the online store, on June 13th, I think we will be back up and running. The website is going through some updating and some revamping, and there's also a handful of other things that I can't talk about until June 13th that they're not good things or bad things. They're just things. So there's no top secret story or any of that shit like that. But that's when the website will go back to you'll be able to buy shirts on the website then. Maybe some other stuff too. Probably.
Joel Bachhuber wants to know if you have any recommendations for vacuum pumps for clamping, minimum CFMS or anything.
Yeah. Okay. Couple of things about vacuum pumps. I recently did a video where I showed you guys my brand new vacuum setup, and it's a very small pump. It is available at Luthier's Mercantile, but I actually got it from the source. And I need to do a video about this because of all the stuff that transpired with Veneer Supplies and the guys who I bought the vacuum pump that I'm currently using from. And I'll tell you a little bit about that story now. There was, I think you want about 18 PSI to do veneers, or 15 or something like that. If you go to any of those guys who do veneer pumps, they'll tell you what you need. And if you're at altitude, it gets tricky because you lose PSI at altitude. So, but I was all set to go through Veneer Supply, and they had this really neat kit, and it worked off your air compressor. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. And I sent the guy only works through email. He doesn't work on the phone. So I sent him all these emails, and took about a couple of weeks. And I'm like, hey, what do you recommend? This, Model A or Model B? And he finally got back to me. And then I'm like, okay, well, between that one and that one, what's the difference between this and this? And should I upgrade to this kit or blah, blah, blah? So after a couple of weeks of backing and forth with this guy in the email, I'm like, oh, fuck it. I'm ready. Let's just click buy. And it came up, if you live in Colorado, tough shit. We won't send it to you. You won't send it to me. And so I sent the guy a thing. I'm like, hey man, what gives? I talked to you about this stuff, and now you won't ship me this stuff. He goes, well, why don't you just have it, ship it to someone who doesn't live in Colorado and then have them ship it to you? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to play that monkey dick around game. If you don't want to send it to me, don't send it to me. Well, it's not my fault. I can't send it to you. Well, it's your business. So yeah, it is. But anyway, there's something about the way that the Colorado state and city taxes work that they are now starting to collect where they didn't before. And I've talked with some people. This is Colorado is a bellwether state for taxing the fuck out of you, I think is probably a fair assessment of that.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So this is something that's going to happen somehow or another. I still managed to get stuff from Stu Mac, Guitar Wood Experts, Bitterroot, Amazon. All those guys have figured it out, but the guy at Veneer Supplies hasn't figured it out. And I think what's going to happen is
venom.
I know, I was really pissed. I think what's going to happen is he's going, as more states start to adopt this practice, he's going to have to figure out some way to handle it, or figure out an algorithm, or figure out an app that does it for him. But until then, he won't ship to Colorado. So I've gone to this other company, and crap, I can't find the invoice is floating around here somewhere. I'll do a video where I tell you which pump that I bought, and I love the new pump. It's awesome. And I'm sure the one from Veneer Supplies is fine too, but he wouldn't ship it to me. So up his butt.
Coconut.
Yeah.
So I have two related questions.
Okay.
The dirty knobs. Do you add graphite rods to any of your necks? And where'd it go? Oh, Chris Sarantos. Do you use anything to secure the truss rod in the slots?
Okay. We do not use graphite rods unless somebody specifically asks for them. In all of our bass necks, we use 1/4 inch by 1/8 inch steel rods, which are considerably heavier, but nice and stiff. And they do a lot of cool stuff besides help stabilize the neck. They pretty much eliminate a bunch of dead spots. And I didn't think dead spots were a thing until I had some necks that had a bunch of dead spots on them. So yeah, I'm a believer in the steel rods, and I stole that idea from Warmoth. Those guys are really good. Do we use anything? We do not attach our truss rods with glue or any of that stuff. They're friction fit. So as you're going to have some load on the truss rods that we get. And that pretty much keeps them held in place. The truss rod slots are nice and tight. And that's kind of the hot ticket item with how we keep the truss rods from rattling around. You have to have some load on them. Any double action truss rod, actually, you have to have a little bit of load on it, or it'll rattle. Or you can use that Gibson style. Actually, Fender uses it. Everybody used it back in the old days. That curved rod. That's a pain in the ass truss rod slot to use, and we've done a bunch of those, and they work great, but they don't work as great as the double action rods do. There's just no two ways about it. Back to that. Let me back up to that graphite or steel. We've done all kinds of things where we've stabilized necks with graphite, carbon fiber, steel, even alternating pieces of wood that you can't see. So, you don't get that like kind of hippie wood, stripy thing. Although I do like hippie wood, stripy things, but we've done some stuff where we've stabilized, say, like mahogany necks with like a maple stringer under the fretboard. And that's another good way to go too. But on bass necks, I always use steel rods. It's the one true and holy way to make a bass neck.
Oh, we have a follow-up question from a question that wasn't actually answered earlier.
Oh, okay.
Where can they buy t-shirts before the store's back up? Can they email you?
You can email me, and I will get the order. I don't have the shirts in my hot little hand yet, but everybody who's on Patreon who hasn't gotten a shirt yet, I've got shirts coming. And if you want to order shirts from me, let me know. Like I said, I've got a brand new order of the vintage tooled shirts, and they're so soft. Mrs. Texas Toast sleeps in hers every night.
That's right.
Not every night, but yeah, but quite a bit. The ladies love them. Guys, if you have a Texas Toast t-shirt, they're so unbelievably soft that your woman will steal it from you. And ladies, if you have a Texas Toast t-shirt, you know what I'm talking about, because it's true. It is. Karen Fuller loves hers.
Gosselin Creative wants to know what
she has one.
What was the inspiration for your special daily driver bridge, and do you really hear that much difference between it and a typical telly bridge?
Okay. Do I hear any difference? No. The inspiration was at the time. Okay, guys, this is one of those things that I can talk a little bit about, but I can't tell you the whole story just yet. There was a guy who was making bridges for us who said, why don't we make a custom bridge for the Daily Driver project? And I said, okay. And so we did, and it had some neat features. They are.
Do you have one handy?
I don't know. I have a few of these bridges left. No more will ever be made.
Is there any put together in the shop?
No, there's none. I have some bridges. There's some that need to go off to chrome. No other whole shot bridges will ever be made because they're so unbelievably expensive. Actually, I talked with John at Bitterroot Guitars, and I asked him if he knew anyone in Korea who'd be willing to steal the design and make it for me, because they cost me so much money to make. And that was when machine time cost me nothing. If I had to pay machine time for that, those would be $120 my cost bridges, because the economy of scale just isn't there. There are some really neat things that bridge does, though. They're top load bridges, but they hide the string ball ends, and they're solid brass, and they're chrome plated, and they're beautiful. The other thing was that we made them with the angled pickup, just like a regular telly, and we made them with straight, and the straight ones with a 1/4 pounder that's where you really can hear the difference is the 1/4 pounder bridge in a super solid, high mass, solid chunk of stuff like that. And they mount super easy, and you don't have to have string through anything. They're really cool. And I talked to Josh at Hipshot about making some, and he's like, the way we do ours, they're bent, they're not machined. So I tell you, when I say that no more will ever be made, I will not be making anymore, and I didn't make them. I will not commission anymore to be made. they're just way too expensive. So if any of you know anyone who'd be happy to steal the idea from me and make them and let me buy them for $50, I'd be more than happy to do that. I'll do that all day long because they cost me way more than $50.
Chris Tarantos wants to know, he asks, what's your favorite guitar you've ever made?
Probably this one, actually. And
oh, someone gave a compliment on the burst too. So
yeah, I'm not lying. This is one of the very first Challengers that ever got made. And it just sold the other day, and it's getting shipped out on Monday. So I had to bring it up so that it could get put in a box. This is so this actually has one of our not the original bridge that this, a lot of people think this is a Telecaster bridge, but this is 3/8 of an inch off the top of the guitar. It's way taller than a Telecaster bridge. In fact, it's the same height as a Tune-o-matic and Stoptail. And this is, some of my favorite guitars. If you guys have been watching for a while, you've probably heard me talk about how much I love Hamer guitars, and this has a lot of Hamer appointments. We've even started to put a third control. The controls all online, and another nod to Hamer. Hamer made what they called the Sustainer bridge. It was not unlike this, only it had 6 individual saddles and was through body. Ours have a hot rod. You can hide the string ball ends in the top here. Hamer doesn't make those bridges anymore either. I think Joel Danzig has 100 Sustainer bridges that he was making just on his own for his own things. And this was probably a couple years ago I saw that. But anyway, it's my own design body. It's a headstock design that Mrs. Texas Toast and I came up with. I love the coloration on this particular guitar. I love the way it sounds. But like I've said to everybody before, I don't own any Texas Toast guitars. They're not mine. I mean, I have them, but they're all for sale. So yeah. But this one is one of my all-time favorites that we ever did.
Troy G asks, have you tried the neck radius router bit on your beloved pin router yet?
No, and I don't see myself doing that. We have a jig neck radius. You mean the neck profile or the compound, or the compound radius? Bob, so the same guy makes. I already know what you're talking about because I made that video about the neck contouring router bit. I haven't used it on that. We have a jig that's actually set up for a 7/8 roundover bit that comes really close. The real problem potentially is, in order for that bit to work the way it was intended to work, we would need to alter the step that we use to make guitars, specifically necks. So, and everyone has a different way of doing stuff. The way that we do it, we press the frets in before we contour it, and I think we glue the fretboard on when everything's flat. We glue a flat board onto a flat board, and that way we don't have to have radius calls to make it go on right. And you could use the vacuum to clamp fretboards. Anyway, I think that if we didn't have a deadhead sander, then that bit would really be helpful. But the deadhead sander is such a better tool for shaping guitar necks. And if you don't believe me, ask our friend Brian Nutter, who will absolutely tell you that. Well, he won't say that Matt's right, but he will say that the deadhead sander is the hot setup. So, yeah.
So, Jordan DuPont, do you have any tricks for when wood doesn't take stain, evenly take stain? Occasionally, yes. I get a piece of wood that just is blotchy.
Yes, I do, and it's cheating. But I seal it and then I spray it to color match. So we use, if you're spraying paint, if you're spraying lacquer, you can just mix aniline dye right in with the lacquer. Do we have any aniline dye floating around up there? If you seal your guitar with, your choice of sealer, and then thank you. And then put, if you're using lacquer and you've got sanding sealer on, and then you're going to spray lacquer on it, you can mix. This is stuff from Stu Mac, and it's actually made by the Trans Tint guy, who's a really cool guy. We should see if we can get him to be an industry partner. Mix this stuff in with lacquer and spray it on, and it will be translucent, and it will all your colors will match. And that's another cool way to, like, if you have a piece of mahogany on the neck that isn't the same color as the piece of mahogany on the body, say, for example, and you want to match them up, it's really hard to do that with, applying dye or stain to the wood. It's way easier to do it when you're shooting color onto a sealed thing. If you're not using lacquer and you're using modern paint, like Matt talking, take two. If you're not using lacquer and you're using modern paints like we use, I would recommend that you use the Simtex sealer. That's another great industry partner. We should see if we can get those guys. Use the Simtex sealer and scuff that back, and then mix the same aniline dye with PPG DBC 500 or the Omni color blender, and it works exactly the same way as lacquer does. And then you spray clear over that and you're solid. That's the best way to go. You will ensure that you get the most even coloration and you won't have a bunch of weird blotchy blotches.
Carl Kraft wants to know, have you built a fan fret neck?
Yes, we built a handful of those, and they're cool. And it's one of those things where they're not a guitar that I would build. I built a handful of those for spec instruments, and I would not do it again because there's not a really a lot of call for those from us. If somebody wants us to make them one, we'd be happy to do so. But in terms of just building a spec body that, hey, you can buy this guitar and it happens to have fan frets. Yeah, they're cool, but they're not they're not as cool as we were having a discussion today. My guitar player Brett was over and we were talking about fan frets because we were talking about the Fender Marauder and how some of those had angled frets, not fanned, but just they were all at the same angle. And we came to the same conclusion, and Bob Quigley will know exactly what I'm talking about. Everything cool that you've ever heard that has, some awesome badass guy playing the guitar did not have a compound radius or fan frets. So I guess that's the kind of people that we sell guitars to, is, the old school dudes.
So Eric Mangel's asking for a link for this 3M tape you were talking about earlier, right when this roll of 3M tape.
Okay. At one of the rolls has the number on it.
Why don't you show them the roll?
Well, yeah, I can show you. I can show you what the tape looks like. But so it's 3M tape. The problem is there's a lot of 3M tapes, and there's a specific number that we use, and I forget what it is. Is it? Eric, I'll come. Can I come back to that question?
Yeah, you can comment on the video later.
Yeah, this 3M tape is it's they're not giving this stuff away. It's really expensive tape. Is there a roll up there with a number on it? It's a specific number that here we go. Okay, here we go. Hold on, I get my danger glasses. The tape is model number or part number 9589. This is 1-inch tape, and it comes in 36-yard rolls. And I want to say it's about, depending on what, like if you buy, especially if you get it at McMaster Car, it's like $35. Sergeant Bishop found a handful of rolls of this stuff on somewhere for like $15, $20. So yeah, 9589 is the good stuff kids go for. That's the stuff to use. It's got the motherfucking seal of approval. The stamp of hubris.
The stamp of hubris.
Uh-huh.
Gosselin Creative, what are your favorite pickups for different styles of guitars?
Okay. This is an easy one. Humbucking pickups. My favorite pickup is the DiMarzio Super Distortion. It is the one true and holy pickup that should be in every single guitar. Single coil pickups, especially for a Telecaster, the Seymour Duncan quarter pounder is the one true and holy pickup to go in a Telecaster. For bass pickups, the Jerry Centel Soap Bar humbucker is absolutely, positively, and without question the only pickup that you will ever need in a bass. Let's see. And this isn't my opinion. This is actual fact. If you insist on having two humbucking pickups, actually one of the sets that I really like is the Seymour Duncan Slash set. That's the great sounding pickups. They're not as cool as the DiMarzio Super Distortion and the PAF in the neck, but they're an awesome set of pickups. They're easy to get and they're really cheap. You can go to Guitar Center and get those for 170 bucks.
And
like
they have that cool doodle on the back that Slash
I
made
know,
of himself.
right?
It's
Yeah.
Slash Doodle by
Slash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any other pickups like single coil for Strat? Okay, no one's gonna like this but me. I think the best Strat pickups are the EMG Strat set, and I realize that's gonna be like, oh, those aren't vintage, correct? I don't like EMGs in any other capacity except single coil Strat pickups. The one Strat that I have has EMGs in it, and I've had it for a long, long time, and it's awesome. But it doesn't have that kind of like over the top Zachy Wildy kind of EMG sound, but I like those. And there's probably for passive set of pickups for Strat, I don't know. I'm sure that somebody makes a good set. I don't like the quarter pounders for Strats as much as I do for the Telly. And there was one other thing. I really like the Curtis Novak pickups for Jazzmaster. I like those a lot too. But yeah.
Michael Ayler wants to know if you can add a piezo to a standard bridge, and can you explain or do a video if so?
I don't know. I've never worked with those kinds of things. There was talk of putting a piezo pickup in Matt's Big Fat One. I think you have to have individual wire for each saddle if you're putting. I don't know the answer. I've never done one, so maybe we could. Maybe one day. I'm sorry, I don't have the right answer. If you want to ask me who the third baseman of the 1947 Cleveland Indians was, I actually looked it up. What?
If you know it, you're a spy, because nobody knows that shit anymore.
Yeah, I Googled it right before the podcast. Somebody already answered it? Okay, good.
Okay, so
because I forgot already, so yeah.
So
I wrote it down, but I didn't. Oh, anyway.
Jeff M wants to know how is the Dimebucker, and Joseph Caswell wants to know about TV Jones pickups.
Okay, great questions. I have no idea. No, no, I've never used the Dimebucker. I bet you Mike Learn would know better than I, but Mike's not here. I've never used the Dimebucker. I would imagine that's a super hot ceramic pickup, but I don't know. TV Jones is a super cool guy who makes awesome pickups, and I can't believe I forgot to mention. I'm sure I forgot a lot of pickup companies, but there's so many good guys out there who make pickups, and TV Jones makes such awesome stuff, and he's a super cool guy. He even follows us on Instagram, which I'm like, wow, I have no business being someone that guy follows on Instagram. He's way cooler than me. But yeah, he's a super cool dude. Like I say, I just really like the way that the pickups how about this? I guarantee the pickups that I said I liked sound cool. And it's not just me. It's just me. Yeah. If you guys got lots of pickups that you dig, I'm super happy to put whatever you want in a guitar. I should have mentioned the Pure Juice humbuckers, the pickups that we had special made. That's another thing that we will never, ever, ever have again is the Pure Juice humbuckers. Once they're gone forever. So, yeah.
They got the moist tone. I'm sorry. Well, Eric Terra says that he's planning on making a Deadhead sander with an old electric motor he has.
Awesome. It's a total game changer. I don't know how many necks you shape by hand, but as soon as you shape, don't shape your first one with a piece of $500 curly fiddleback maple. Use a hunk of poplar scrap that you like shape into a neck and get the feel for it, because it can be a very precise tool, and it can also be something that removes wood and skin very, very fast. Especially if you've got a really aggressive belt and a really aggressive motor, you can remove lots of material fast. Once you get used to it, and it won't take long, you'll get really good at it really fast, and you'll be like, man, this is a no-brainer. I love our Deadhead sander, and it's right up there with the pin router and the shaper and the radius sander. It's like, oh man, I never want to not have this kind of tool for what we do.
Never ever.
Never ever.
So this isn't so much a question either, but Hoagie says he just logged on to YouTube, and finds Texas Toast live streaming. Great! Exclamation point.
Awesome.
4. And then I see that gorgeous single cut behind Matt. Effing awesome.
It is effing awesome. This is our Challenger body
and it looks
shape.
gorgeous because Chris finished it. No?
Yeah, you did. Did I do the burst on this? I may have done the burst. This was 2 years ago, maybe more. Are you sure I did that? Maybe I did. I don't know. But yeah, so I guess I did the burst on this one. Every so often I have to remind Chris that I know how to build guitars too. So yeah. Chris is so good at doing it though, that especially like paint work. I'm like, hey Chris, can you do this for me? Can you paint for me? Pretty much all I get to paint these days is sealer that all gets sanded off anyway. So you can paint whatever you want as long as you don't want to wreck it. So yeah.
So there really aren't any new questions. So I want to go back to my original question.
Oh, I don't have any
and
answer
let's
for
take Rosie O'Donnell out.
Okay.
And substitute Glenn Campbell.
Glenn Campbell.
Okay. So fuck, marry, kill. Here are your choices. Samantha Bee.
Glenn Campbell's already dead.
No, but like in his prime.
I don't know. He had those really sexy collars. I don't know the answer to that.
You're no fun at all.
I'm not any fun.
You would totally marry Glenn Campbell.
My friend Richard Ryan was telling me that I was just beating on Chris with like the stupid Glenn Campbell thing last week, and I was like, Glenn Campbell, and then Chris would say something about Glenn Campbell, and I'd be like, there you go, talking about Glenn Campbell again, and I was drunk and obnoxious, which is usually the way it goes. So yeah. Okay. So guys, we're at an hour here.
There's some questions on the Sanders now.
Okay. Yeah. If you got, I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Remember, the signal has to go like to outer space
goes to
and then
space.
back down all around the world, like to Russia and Australia.
It's going everywhere
this evening.
Very cool.
And it's going to take a couple seconds.
Sure.
So when you're talking, they're hearing it like 1.2 seconds later.
That's
and then
true.
they got to type.
That's true.
So chill, man. So how often do you have to change the belt on the Deadhead sander? And can a stationary belt sander be used or made into a Deadhead sander? And have you ever tried to use that?
Okay. Belts on a Deadhead sander. The real problem
depends on the wood. Too.
Yeah, it depends on the wood. It's not because the sandpaper gets clogged up or old, because we use 50 grit paper on the Deadhead sander now, and that stuff stays rough for a long time. What happens is the belt heats up and it gets too loose and it won't track anymore. At that point, you have to change it out. Depends on how hard you're herking on them. One of the nice things about using one of those round over bits is any of that material you can remove without the sander is a great thing. So even if you're not shaping the whole neck with that, but you're just removing stuff, that's a great tool. Obviously, mahogany and white limba shape much easier and with much less effort than hard rock maple does. So, take that for what it's worth. But the belts that we use on our Deadhead sander are custom sized. They're like 4-inch by 92 and a half inch or something. They're this wacky size. We get them. I can't remember the name of the place, but they're like $11, and then they'll make whatever size you want. And they'll even, so like if you need a 100 and a 1/4 inch belt, they'll make it. If you need a 50 and 3/4 inch belt, they'll make it. Anything you can imagine, they'll make. So our Deadhead sander started out life as an Acme edge sander, and not the kind that Wile E. Coyote. Well, maybe that's the Acme, but it was a kind of edge sander that you would have found in like high school wood shop kind of stuff. It's a really old sander. It's from the 50s. And we modified that into our Deadhead sander. It's not a true Deadhead sander in that it doesn't have like it doesn't have a drive wheel down here and then a head, a flat head, Deadhead that doesn't have any twirly whirlies on it, like a regular sander does. So we just sort of custom made one, and I'll be goddamned if it didn't work. And I'm actually a little shocked that it worked as well as it did, because that edge sander was almost worthless for what we were using it before prior, and it works great as a Deadhead sander. I've done a handful of videos on Deadhead sanders, so if you want to see what ours looks like, you should check those out. If you just Google or do YouTube search for Deadhead sander, I'm sure ours will be up there. And Dane Guitars has one where he used a grizzly edge sander, and he basically turned his into something very, very much like ours. And he says it works great. Actually, we just got some string trees for a modern project from Bruce Bennett. Bruce Bennett was sort of the go-to guy for how to make a deadhead sander online, because he had made a couple of them, one when he worked at Gibson and one when he worked at Warrior Guitars. And Bruce he's one of those grumpy old farts. You'd think he and I would get along great, but it's two grumpy farts talking, and usually that doesn't work out, and it's like a negative times a negative equals a positive. But in that case, it was two grumpy old guys being grumpy together. I like Bruce a lot, and he was very
so it was
cordial.
More like negative minus.
Yeah. So
or times a negative exponent,
double negative.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's a cool guy, and he's actually very cordial when I talk to him on the phone. But he's grumpy, and I'm grumpy, and yeah. So I know. Again, I'm gonna name drop Brian Nutter again, who worked with Bruce when he built his. But anyway, if you do a Google search for Deadhead sander, there's 9 times out of 10 you'll either see Bruce's pictures on mylespaul.com or one of my videos. So, or you'll pictures of like some Grateful Dead shit that doesn't make any sense. But
so Michael Ayler wants to know if there are any technique changes putting fabric on a carved top.
We've never done one.
Yes, we have.
On a carved top?
Yes.
The closest one that we did was with like a comfort.
I remember, like they were cutouts rather. Because I remember cutting out like a little edge thing so that it would lay flat while it was drying.
I guess it depends on how crazy your carve is. I can tell you that like on the back of a tummy cut on a fender, it'll go. But you might have to relieve it in some places, not where the guitar is, but like off the guitar.
Yeah, just like a half an inch off the guitar.
Yeah. But it'll go. So I would imagine like if you have a fairly shallow carve, like a Les Paul kind of carve, if you wanted to do that, you could probably pull that off. Give it a shot. The hot setup would be to soak the fabric in water and test it on the guitar while they're still,
lays flat,
and see if it lays flat. Yeah. If it does, now don't do this on raw wood. But if you've got a guitar, if you've got a carved top guitar that's already sealed or something, try that out. It will probably work just fine. But I do not recommend getting the fabric wet and then putting glue on it and then trying to just do it dry. The fabric has way more give and sway than you think it's gonna. So yeah, I don't think you'll have any trouble at all. But test to be sure and let me know.
Well, someone's claiming that you have a man crush on Brian Nutter.
I do. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that you'd want to broadcast that. He's got no shame about it, obviously.
No, Brian Nutter is like, he's way cooler than me. So yeah, I totally have a man crush on him.
LT Gold 007 wants to know what the Inlay company you're using now is, please. Thank you.
Okay, that is guitar. Okay. I don't know the answer. I think it's guitar. Oh, we're looking it up. I have a video on that, and the guy's name is Russ, and it's he does, it's all with a freaking laser. Are you having any luck with that? Music Engineering Services. So they have a Facebook page. They have a website, but it's real easy to just get on and send Russ a message. You can use that through the contact us. That's another great industry partner. I should send Russ a thing. So if you want super fancy inlays and you hate doing inlay as much as I do, or even half as much as I do, give Russ a call, because he is the inlay guy. If you want your name on there, or if you want, Tree of Life, or just something wacky, I'm sure he would be more than willing to help you out. And he uses, pretty much you can do whatever you want. No inlay is too big. No fee is too big. It's sort of like Ghostbusters.
That's true, though. Huh? Robert Pritchard wants to tell you that he made his fist, but
I'm sure he meant
first fabric top, thanks to watching you and Weenie Rollers Forever.
Weenie Rollers Forever. Well, congratulations, Robert. How did it turn out? And if you haven't sent me a picture already, What are you doing? Send me a picture. Why? What? You think you better than me? Send me a picture.
You said weenie roller like 3 times.
I
and you
drank
haven't
too.
drank.
Yeah, I have.
You're a bold-faced liar.
I'm glad that you guys are having so much fun with fabric tops, because I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I don't want to do fabric tops anymore. We got so many fabric tops right now. So I'm hoping that you guys kind of pick up the ball and run with it. Yes. Is that all we got?
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, it's 6:09, and thanks for joining us. How many people were tuned in?
I don't know.
Okay, enough. I had a lot of fun talking with you guys, and let me know how you like this format.
And what topics do you want to cover?
What topics do you want to cover in the future? We didn't do salty answers to salty statements, but maybe we'll do that next time.
Isn't it salty replies to stupid comments?
That's something that would work too. Yeah, yeah. Salty replies to dumb comments or something. Well, maybe we'll work that in next time. You know, we do these live podcasts every Sunday at 5 o'clock Mountain Time. Thanks again for joining us, everybody. Please feel free to leave more comments in the section below. If you like this video, give us the thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, why don't you hit that subscribe button? And if you appreciate the stuff that we do, please go over to our Patreon page and consider becoming a member. Even $1 a month goes a long way to helping us bring you cool stuff like this. In fact, all the gear that we use for these podcasts was funded by Patreon support. So thank you guys for all your help. If you can't do Patreon, we totally understand. Please share the video. That helps us grow the channel too. And another great way to help us grow the channel is use our industry partners. There'll be links in the bottom of the section below. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again next week. And I've got more videos on very cool stuff coming this week. So stay tuned. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Good night. Weenie roller.
Weenie rolling.